Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the More Money Show. Today we have with us Paulie Rojas. I'm so excited to talk to you. Welcome, Paulie.
Hello, Cassie. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Of course, I'm Cassie Parks, your host of the More Money Show, and today we are catching up with Paulie. It's been about 3 months, 91 days since the last interview, which means you've been in the Enchanted Circle over the last 6 months. So I want to start, well, first, always, tell me something awesome.
What's awesome is that I don't know what I'm doing from one day to the next, and I'm not worried about it.
Yay!
So, yeah, I love that. I'm not having to put an alarm on my phone and just waking up whenever I feel like it and being really happy to lay in bed if I have to or go up and do stuff if I have to. So that's a really nice feeling.
That is an awesome feeling. I love it. What do you think is the biggest shift over the last 90 days?
Oh man, I feel a huge shift. One is I feel very much like I don't know anything and I'm so excited about it versus
Yes.
I want to know everything and be excited. So I feel like I've completely let go of the reins and I'm allowing so much more and trusting more than anything that things always are wonderful no matter what.
I love that. So when you say, like, I don't know anything, what you really mean is I don't know how it's going to happen, right?
Right. I don't know
I
what
love
is going
it.
to happen or how it's going to happen, but I'm going to be deeply fulfilled and really happy. And I mean, all the good feelings are going to come to me versus me visualizing and finding that feeling. I feel that they're
Yes.
finding me.
Yes. And that's so different, right? You're not out there seeking that feeling like it's finding you. Everything is finding you.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. So last interview, we had talked about how, when you came to me, like you had this whole list that you were doing, and I really said to stop doing a lot of the manifesting things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like as you grew, then there became this whole other level of it's the same thing, but it's different. And this happens with everyone. Then instead of this manifesting list, it was this big project that you were like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. This is going to make it all happen.
Uh-huh.
This is going to create it. Talk about it in your own words. How did you feel about that project?
Okay, so what happened was I was making a really great income coaching for this one company, and then company didn't have the funds to keep all the consultants happy, or not happy but employed, and so they were like, hey, we love you, but we can't use you right now, let's talk about it like next year, which was my biggest fear. Was, oh my god, I have this structure and I'm doing something and I'm making money, and I'm not a starving actress anymore. But then that happened, and instead of being really upset and sad about it, I was relieved and happy. And like, this was the universe saying, okay, now it's time to really do you, to be you,
Mm-hmm.
be everything you can be. So when that happened, instead of completely jumping into the beingness, I was like, all right, next big project. I'm going to produce this $100,000 short film with stars in Europe, and I'm going to establish myself, and I'm going to get into every single film festival, and people are going to see me, and I'm going to be a star. And this is the way this is going to be my show vehicle to establish myself and be on top of the world. And then I told you, Cass, and you're like, whoa. I'm like, hold your horses. How about you just see what happens? Like, don't do anything. I'm like, no, which is of course the worst thing. Like, the last thing I want to hear is don't do anything, because
Right.
then when I do something, it feels like I'm doing something versus being something, which I haven't experienced as fully.
Mm-hmm.
So I planned a trip to travel with my boyfriend, and I put it on hold. I listened to you, and something happened where I allowed myself to just be in the moment and still live like my future self, which meant
Mm-hmm.
to me traveling and paying for dinners for people I love and saying yes to adventures and not having to worry if, oh no, there's no income anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it came from me, my brain saying, all right, now let's reach out and like writing the email to reach out and then not sending it. That was a big step for me.
Yeah.
And then getting these big ideas and doing like almost acting the whole thing out and then stopping right before the execution of it and then letting it go. I don't know. It was like a lot of taking action, but not going all the way and stopping right before actually sending the email or making the phone call or things like that. So that's where I'm now is I'm still just not doing anything and enjoying my dog, enjoying a glass of wine and still going out with friends. I don't know. It feels like I'm just trusting more, even though nothing quite physical has happened yet.
Exactly. And that's awesome. And that's new, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's amazing. So what you're saying for listeners, and this is what happens to us, we go through these things and they're this really big deal. And then all of a sudden when you get through them, it's like, oh yeah, that's what happened. Right.
Yeah.
So I want to break this up a little bit for people is, you came because your job had, was paused or whatever, your income, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go make this happen. Right. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I've already found the writers. I've already done all this stuff. I've already done all these things. Right. And I said, pause. And you're like, okay. And I got you to give me like 30 days, which then you went on a trip and you experienced some of that beingness, which was awesome. And you came back and you're like, oh, it's been 30 days. I think I should do it again. Right.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
And it was kind of the same conversation, like, and a little bit of coaching on like, how does your role show up as an actor and what happens in some of that? And another suggestion, okay, let's just wait 30 more days and make sure we're scripting and we're tapped into our future self. And then let's get some inspiration. Right. And you said, okay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like you said, okay, it was like, but every week for a couple of weeks, which is normal. You came and you're like, are you sure? I don't think this is what I should be doing.
Because I'm still feeling this way. And you're like, yes, I'm sure. I'm like, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Like, all right. And then,
yeah. And so you learned how to pause and you stepped into more of the beingness because you couldn't be in action, which is what that was giving you, was that tool to be in action and not be still and not figure out how to be the being, right? And then so what you mentioned about the emails is that now you've developed your own sort of, when I feel like I should reach out to someone and I start, my instinct says, oh no, this isn't inspired, and you don't even finish. Right? Because you now can catch yourself trying to make it happen instead of allowing it to happen.
Exactly. And I still have no idea how anything is going to unfold or how I'm going to get what I desire, but I'm not worried about it at all. Well, okay, no, that's a lie. I am worried, but like not as much. Before I would say I was consumed with worry, and now it's more excitement of the way it's going to unfold is going to be magical, and I'm sure of it. I don't know how, but it's going to be wonderful. So,
how does it feel to have that certainty and that excitement instead of worry?
It's been incredible because I can see it with the people that I love when they call me, when I talk with my boyfriend or my mom or my sister, my brother, they love talking to me, and I was the problem child. I was the one that was having like panic attacks and I would cry so easily because I had no belief in myself. And now they're calling me to help them feel better. And I love being able to say, hey, it's all going to work out. It always has. And I love being a rock when I used to be just a project, like a family project.
Yes.
So,
that's amazing. And and what I will say is that was something we hadn't talked about that prior to the interview, but that was something that phrase, that rock, is something that came out of your scripting. And so now that you're saying that and you're experiencing that, and it wasn't something that you set like this big intention, like I'm just explaining this for the listeners, like, oh, I have to be this person. It was a reflection of who you had become in your future self, right? And so now that you're using those words, that's huge evidence that all the other stuff is going to follow.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
So I love that. I love
it. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know why I want to say this now, but I love not having to explain anything. Like, I
Yes.
love not having to justify anything other than when I'm acting in a role and I have to justify that intentions then, but that's exciting. But I love not having to defend, explain, or worry about anything about anything. And I think I'm saying that because I used to be the person that was constantly looking ahead towards what I would have to explain or defend. And now I'm like, I don't have to do that at all, ever.
Yes. Oh,
Hmm.
define that a little bit more, because somebody's going to resonate with what you're saying. It's going to change someone's life. Like, used to look ahead to what you were going to have to explain.
So I went to a housewarming party with people that I've worked with before, and they
Mhm.
were like, "So what are you doing now?" And I hate that. I mean, I think a lot of actors, if a lot of actors are listening to this, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, I hate when people are like, oh, have I seen you in anything?" or "What are you doing now?" Because I get the feeling that I have to say, "Oh, now I'm working with Steven Spielberg," or "Now, I'm doing this." Otherwise, your worth is on the line. And
Mhm.
now, what I can just say, I'm happy to be exploring life and getting stories that I want, finding out different projects that I want to work on, meeting different people. Like, I don't have to defend myself for not being where I thought I would be by now. And that's really, really great. Or if I'm, now people are like, "So what do you do every day?" I'm like, I don't have to say anything. I can just say I get to spend more time with my dog. I get to read a lot. I get to watch classic films. I get to study everything and anything I want to now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is amazing. And so your future self, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
really what we've worked on, is like, what does your future self do in
Mhm.
her space
Right.
between what she's doing?
Mhm.
And exactly that. And so for anyone who's listening, like, that's the beingness, right?
Mhm.
Right now you're being your future self. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
I know. How does it feel to not have to explain, to not feel like you have to prepare for that?
Oh, man, I feel like I will look young for the next 20, 30 years. I feel like
Yeah.
my vanity is speaking now, but I think that, it feels nice because I feel like when I do respond this way, I feel like people resonate with that and they feel like they can do the same. So I
Yes.
do feel like it is a bit of a service to be not have to explain or defend, because that means I don't need you to explain or defend anything, because I accept you for whatever you are and where you are. And I think we get
Yes.
into a deeper connection that way.
Yes. And I'm hearing your future self come out in that experience all over the
Uh,
place too. Yeah. I remember, like,
oh,
from your interview, like, that's
mhm,
part of who your future self is really giving
mhm.
this permission, no matter where she is in her life or her status or any of that, but this permission for other people to be around her.
Yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's really, I mean, I think about like, oh, what I want people to say about me. I want them to say, "Oh, I feel so good around her. I feel like I can be myself around her. I feel like she sees the best in me." I would, yeah, because I love people and I love their
Yes.
stories. So,
I love it. And so when you've sort of just been in this, like, I'm going to see what happens,
mhm.
uh, have you landed any roles? Has anything just fell in your lap?
Yeah, and it's funny because it happened before I knew that there was a pause in my contract, but I landed a show that an old acting teacher of mine said, "Hey, there's a one-woman show that's coming, and I think you would be great." And I knew about it, but I had no desire. I was like, okay, if I'm in town, let's see what happens." And I wasn't in town, but they were like, "Oh, we'll wait for you." I'm like, "Okay, well, you might wait a long time because I don't know if I'm gonna if I can do it." And then I finally they kept emailing me, like they kept pursuing me. It felt, and that feels great too as an actor. I mean,
Total future self as well. Just, I'm going to
totally,
point out
yeah.
all of these things, right?
Okay, good. Please do. I need to hear this. and uh, and so finally, I was like, fine, I'll put myself on tape. And I really loved the premise of it, and so that was really great. Falling in love with the actual piece first, and
Mhm.
so I put myself on tape. I sent the tape, and the writer and director were like, there's a ton of people that are auditioning in person in New York, so we don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, oh, you know what? Why don't you see them first? And if you don't pick someone, then I'll put myself on tape. Like, and then they were like, yeah, we didn't find anyone. Can you please put yourself on tape? I'm like, okay, fine. fine. But not being a diva, just more like, if it's going to
Yeah.
go to the person that it's meant to come to.
Right.
And so then I put myself on tape, and then the next day she's like, as soon as you get back to New York, please come and see us. And so I did. I went to the callback, and it was just one of the most magical experiences of my life, because I was so unattached to the project, but yeah, I did very much love the project. And I knew I loved it because I thought whoever gets it, it deserves to have it.
Yeah.
So, and then they took me out right after the audition, they took me to lunch, and they were like, "We're offering you the part. Can you please do it?" I was like, "Oh, this is nice. This is lovely." Instead of me being like, "Why didn't I get that one line on Blue Bloods?" It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is," and it's a one-woman show, so it's 90 minutes of me performing an incredible story about Mozart's sister, who was a child prodigy as well, and it's her story, and it's such a current topic about holding women back. When, like, why did we only have one Mozart when we could have had two Mozarts, two geniuses in the world?
Yeah.
Like, why are we holding the world back from such incredible talent and genius? So it's a really, and I get to do it.
Yes.
It's great.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. And
mhm.
how does it feel to have that space in your schedule to really give that part your all?
I feel like the clouds parted and we're like, don't distract her with anything else. Let her focus on this. It feels like it feels so right. It fits so well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that because it didn't quite feel like that when it was like your contract's ending. This is gonna, right?
No, no, no. And I was dreading that in my head, I'm like, God, I'm so lucky to still be working here. I hope,
Mhm.
let's see how much longer I'll last. And I lasted like a year longer than I thought I would. Um, so it was just perfect timing too. And
Mhm.
also how the feedback that I'm getting from the company and the CEO is like, we're going to have you back as soon as we can. And we all love you. So it was a sweet departure. And
Yeah,
what I'm thinking is going to happen is when they do ask me to come back, I won't be able to.
exactly.
Yeah. And I'd be happy to do some like guest coaching or something when I can,
Yeah,
but it'll be a bigger event. Yeah.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I keep pointing out evidence, and partly I think that is because, I mean, I'm all about evidence, but
Mhm.
also you have been, you took kind of a challenge a couple weeks ago. I challenged someone else in the Enchanted Circle to just like look for all the evidence
Oh my
possible.
god, that was the best thing you could have asked us to do. Yeah.
Yeah, so talk about it. What's happened since? How does it make you feel?
Oh, it's funny because I didn't even know that I needed to look at evidence. I was like, "That's not me, that's somebody else." But then as soon as it was brought up, I'm like, "Oh, no, this sounds incredible." And I'm so happy that you did that, because it's like, oh, and also there was another gal on the call that said, look at, if you see a bird, it's evidence for what you want. If you
Mhm.
see someone, you know, jumping over a puddle, that's evidence. See,
Mhm.
everything is evidence. And so lately, it's just everywhere, and I forget that I'm looking for evidence, and it's there.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's always been there. Even you asked me to share when I have an audition, and
Yeah.
normally I think I keep it secretive because I think, oh, if I don't get it, it's going to be embarrassing.
Mhm.
That was my thing. But you're like, no, let's bring it up. So there's this powerful, abundant energy going into it,
Mhm.
and then let's go from there. So I've been sharing that I have auditions, and they're cool auditions, for
Yeah.
Broadway, um and it's like, and if I don't get it, you said, well, maybe I don't want to be with someone that's not going to see all that I am. So why care about put so much into something that I didn't get when they just didn't see me? And from that came this like aha moment of, I don't have to get every single part that comes to me. I don't
Mhm.
have to do the waitress and the prostitute with the heart of gold and all, or like the single mom or the damsel. I don't have to do all of this. I just need one part at a time that is iconic to me, that speaks to me, and
Mhm.
that's all I have to focus on. It's not being able to do everything, just being able to be me in the one part that's coming, one part at a time, if that makes any sense.
so brilliantly said.
Oh, thank
And
you.
so of course I have follow-ups because
Yeah.
I want to know, like, how freeing was that?
Oh, it's so great because when I go into an audition room, then I don't freak out. I'm like, "Oh, that girl's so beautiful. That oh my god, I saw her on TV," or "Oh my god, this is this is like the director that once did Game of Thrones," you know? It's more like it's going to work out, and if they don't see me, they don't it doesn't mean that I'm not worth it. It just means that this is going to take me to the next place that I have to be. It's all
Yes.
working out. So I love it's so freeing believing it and
Yeah.
giving it that meaning
Mhm.
versus whatever else I was thinking in the past.
Yeah.
So,
How much do you think it's made you a better actor?
oh, I think it's made all the difference because now I'm really focused on what I have to be focused on, which isn't my neurosis. It's not my problems. It's
Mhm.
what what does this mean in the greater tapestry of things? Why am I doing this part? Not
Mhm.
because I want people to see me and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
good job, Polly," but it's because this part is actually saying something about us as people and a culture and a world, and that's awesome.
It is awesome. And again,
Yeah.
I will say that is your future self. Like, that's straight out of
Mhm.
workshop, like words that you used from your future
Mhm.
self, like how I heard her speak. So it's even more evident.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, always. I love
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
So what do you think is the biggest difference since you joined the Enchanted Circle?
What I'm saying to you right now,
Yeah.
um, yeah, the words that are coming out of my I think it is really thriving in the unknown
Mhm.
and knowing that the unknown is my friend versus where the like source of anxiety is. It's more like it's the source of all possibilities, and that's I think I can go deeper with that, and just like surrender to that.
Yes. I
Mhm.
love that. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. So anyone who's sort of caught up, like maybe, 6 months ago, Polly, or anyone else
Mm.
sort of
Mhm.
caught up in that source of anxiety, like what's
Mhm.
the best advice that you would give them?
Oh, I once read that anxiety means you're living in the future and depression means you're living in the past, and I've had
Mhm.
both
Yeah.
to like severely, yeah. And so I think that not no self-judgment when anxiety happens, because of course it's bound to happen as humans. I For me, I think, well, everything is always worked out. Even the bad stuff
Mhm.
has worked itself out, and, uh and just making friends with the unknown, I think, is the best thing that I'm practicing right now, is that
Yeah.
the unknown is it's not where anything can go wrong, it's where anything can go right. So, I think I have to still practice that every day, and it's reminding myself, everything's working out. I have an incredible life because I've that's what I've created. So,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
making friends and just, yeah, coming back to I've done, being a person that's had a lot of anxiety, there's all these exercises, right? Like, look at your hand and, like, count the lines on your hand, like, come back to the present, and, like and those are, I think, rooted in
Right.
just being in the beingness.
Yes.
So, yeah, and coming back to the now.
Yeah. And the light of possibilities.
In the light of possibilities. Yeah,
Yeah.
the unknown is the light of possibilities.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that. And
Yeah.
so, one kind of maybe the last question.
Mhm.
How has, because you really, there was right, like you sort of, I can see the shift in you scripting to do the action and
Mhm.
now you scripting in the beingness. And so,
Mm.
I would love to know how that feels, and B, what impact do you think that's had on your life and where you are and this amazing stuff that we're talking about like being in the possibility?
Well, a lot of your feedback, like, I'm in my room and there's my Oscar, and you're like, all right, can you remove like any trophies? I'm like, sure. I'm in my room and there's a picture of me winning my Oscar.
It's so true.
And you're like, okay, like it's better, but like remove any of the awards, any of like this is, acty schmacty thing. And I'm like, crap, but that's why I'm doing this, right? And then, I mean, the big revelation I had was, I think it was one of the times I was scripting, I think it was last week or this week, about me having fresh gardenias in the master bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I've never thought about that. But of course
Yeah.
I would have fresh gardenias because I can have fresh gardenias, or someone sends me fresh flowers every week, or I get some kind of, somehow I always have like fresh natural beauty surrounding me versus
Yes.
like a bunch of metal accolades, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing. And going downstairs to my wonderful kitchen and smelling coffee. Yeah, I think actually I'm having an aha moment right now, but smells, like what kind of smells would my future self be surrounded with? And they're all
Yes.
natural, beautiful, aromatic, like deliciousness.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
conversation is so good because um it's so true. And what I didn't put together until you just said it side by side is that,
Mhm.
yes, when we removed the trophies, you could
Mhm.
smell the gardenias, you could see
Mhm.
them, you could see everything else that's in that life. And now you're like, oh, and there's amazing smells in that life, right? And
Right.
so we're gonna like, oh my gosh, now I'm so excited to read your script because you're gonna be so much more there and in the
Mhm.
beingness instead of it being like you said. I love that you even said about the trophies because that's so not even something I would expect to come out of your mouth, I would say. So that's growth that I'm seeing right here on this interview because
Oh, great.
that's always sort of, you're right, has been the thing, like, this is what means I made it. But I
Mhm.
love that you are bridging that because this is where the magic really is
Mhm.
we can remove that stuff that we think gets us to that life, and
Mhm.
we can start seeing the gardenias and we can smell the
Mhm.
coffee and we can be in
Mhm.
that moment of how truly amazing that life is.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I think it's going into all my senses more, not just what I see.
Yes.
Like the beautiful, like, rustic bathtub that I always write about, like, because
Mhm.
I'm so wealthy, I can have a custom-made rustic bath, but it's more like the sensory, um, yeah, the smell, the touch, the feel of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think moving into sort of the more, because I would call that even being more present in your scripting, being able to
Mhm.
see like when the gardenias pop up, like that's
Mhm.
stuff I talk, it's like you're going to see stuff that you didn't know is there, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that's supported being more present in your life?
Yes, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. I think I have so much me time, me by
Yes.
myself, that I love when I get to be with people because
Mhm.
I know I'm gonna come back to have a lot of me time, so I have a lot more to give when I'm with people because 'cause I'm so much
Yes.
more present to myself.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't
Uh,
know. So, I don't
yeah.
know.
And that's such an important lesson for your future self to learn, right?
Mhm.
Which
Mhm.
you wouldn't have learned had you gone
Mhm.
off on that big project and been
Right.
going 90 miles an hour to make that happen.
Right. No, but really enjoying my own company is a big shift because I was working all these hours constantly surrounded by clients or
Yeah.
friends or my boyfriend, and now my boyfriend's traveling a lot. I'm just by myself, and I love it. I really love it.
Yay.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview today. I'm so excited to catch up with you next time
Me
because, oh
too.
my gosh, so much has happened and I love it. You and I were talking before the call, like
Mhm.
I can energetically see and hear the shift in you and it's so much fun.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for pointing it out because my future me knows that this is right. This is really cool, really good.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I love
wouldn't have thought that otherwise.
it. Good. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to catch up next time. If anybody wants to connect with you, if they see you and they're like, I need her in my show or whatever, where do they go?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Well, I'll give you my email, which is my name, Paulie, Paulie, and then TRA, Paulietra at gmail.com.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll catch up with Paulie in her next interview.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.